Hi there, this is Terry from Stamping Magic. Welcome back to my channel. Today's project is this really sweet gift bag. I used the Petal Palette stamp set and the coordinating Petals and More dies, as well as the Share What You Love specialty paper. This bag is 4.5 inches wide and 5 inches tall and just 1 inch deep. The bag I'm going to make today is going to be a different size. It will be slightly narrower than this one and slightly shorter, but it will be 1.5 inches deep. So let's get started. For all these bags, you start off with a piece of Designer Series paper that measures 12 inches by 6 inches. Now, if you want the bags to be taller than I'm going to make here, just increase that 6 inches by however much taller you want your bag. For this size bag, I'm going to score at 4 inches, 5.5 inches, 9.5 inches, and 11 inches. Then I'm going to turn my paper and score at 1.5 inches. There's just a little bit of cutting to create this bag. First of all, you want to remove the small rectangular section in the bottom corner, and then you just want to create tabs along the bottom so you can form a base. I'm also going to slant cut the top and the bottom of that long tab that's left after we've removed this corner section. And slant cutting this just helps the bag fold in a little neater. Now, when I create the tabs along the bottom, I'm just cutting up the score line, but I want to actually remove that score line. So I'm making a double cut along each of those vertical scores. And again, this just helps the bottom of the box fold in a bit tidier. So it's just a tiny slither that I'm removing from each of those scores. Next, I'm going to fold on all the score lines and just use my bone folder to reinforce those folds to make them nice and sharp. Then you can fold the side tab inwards, add your glue, then bring the opposite side over to form your box shape. Now, where that join is, this panel is going to be the back of your box. So when you're doing the base, you want to fold the back tab in first and then add glue to the 3 remaining tabs. Now, I fold the side tabs in first so they become sandwiched between the long tabs, and then I fold the front tab in. And this makes your box nice and neat. And you've got a neat inside and a neat outside because you can't see those side tabs. To form the top of the box, all you do is push your index fingers inwards and squeeze the front and the back panels together. And then just check that your sides are nice and neat. You want to mark the positions where you want to make the holes for the ribbon to go through. Now, of course, you can do this just by eye if you want to, but I tend to measure everything. So I'm just making some pencil marks about 1 inch in from each of the side edges, which is about 2.5 centimeters inwards. Then to keep the top of the box together while I punch the holes, I'm just using some of our in colour binder clips just to hold it in place and make it a little easier. And then I'm going to use my 1/8 of an inch handheld circle punch to punch the holes. I have some of the 1/8 of an inch sheer ribbon here in Fresh Fig, and I'm going to thread that through the holes and then tie it into a bow. Now I've got about 20 inches, which is approximately 50 centimetres that I'm using. I'm going to do the stamping next, and I'm using the Petal Palette stamp set. I'm just using 2 of the images and then 1 of the sentiments. I'm using old olive ink to stamp the leaves, and I'm just going to stamp them onto a piece of Whisper White cardstock, just a scrap piece. I'm stamping off first and then stamping onto my card. This will be cut out using one of the Stitched Shapes circle dies, and it's the second largest. I have a scrap of rich raspberry here, and I'm going to use one of the layering scalloped circles from the layering circle dies, the third largest, to cut out a mat to go under the leaves. I'm going to stamp the bird onto another scrap of Whisper White cardstock using rich raspberry ink. And this will be cut out using one of the Petals and More dies. I'm also going to stamp the sentiment using rich raspberry. And again, I'll cut this out using one of the Petals and More dies. Now this little banner die is longer than I actually need. So I'm going to show you in a minute how I reduce the size of that. I'll be using a couple of the other dies in the set to cut out some old olive sprigs and a set of the vellum leaves. I'm going to cut out my sentiment now, and I'm lining up that banner die on the left hand side. I'm not worried about the right hand side at this point. So I just want to position the left side where I want it to cut. And I'm going to run that through and then remove it. And then I'm going to line up the die again on the right hand side. And if you do this, you'll find that the die just sits nicely on that top and bottom edge. Of course you can use your magnetic plate to do this, but I prefer to tape it down. And then run it through a second time to cut that right hand side. And there we have the sentiment. Now all the pieces have been cut, I can start putting this together. So first of all, I'm going to layer my circle of leaves onto that scallop circle. I've already added dimensionals onto the back of the bird and also the back of the sentiment. So I'm going to remove the backs and position the bird first, and then the sentiment. To position the vellum leaves, I'm just going to use a little piece of tear and tape. And I'm going to leave the backing on because I'm going to add dimensionals over the top of that in a minute. And the same with the old olive sprigs. I'm just working out where I want to place them, and then I'm just fixing them into position with another little piece of tear and tape. I've added my dimensionals and I'm just removing the backing. And then this can be positioned onto your gift bag. And finally, I'm just going to trim the ends off that ribbon. And here is the finished bag. And my original one, you can see this one is taller and narrower. So as you increase the depth of the bag, your bag will become shorter because you're starting off with the same size of paper. I also made a third one, and this one is 2 inches deep, so it's shorter again. Now, if you find you like the size of the bags but you just want them taller, remember all you have to do is increase that 6-inch measurement on your paper. So make it 7 inches or 8 inches, and that will give you a taller bag. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this project. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notifications bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. Bye for now.